Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Ask the Expert call with Small Business USA. You guys know that we do this every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. And I'm always blown away. I always take notes, and I am always honored, but not more than I am today, to have the famous and infamous Bill Doerr on the call with me today. So, anyone who has not been on Blab before, please make sure that you tweet it and share it and ask us questions. If you put that hashtag before the Q, your question will come right up in this box over this way, I think. And we'll be able to answer the questions. And Bill, before we get started, I mean, if for those people, the very few people on this call today that don't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Bill Doerr. I work with people who are usually in financial services, but typically in people who are not in retail. My background's in sales and marketing. Thanks to you and the wonderful work that you've done in our group, I've learned that I'm more of a connector than a marketer, which is fine. I understand marketing, but I like to say, I call myself a marketect because I build plans, but I don't swing hammers and nails. I mean, I could, and I have, but it's probably better to subcontract that kind of stuff out. And so I have a bunch of wonderful experts who are far better at that kind of stuff than I do. But I sometimes ask the hard questions like, why would you care to do this or opposed to do that? And help people make good decisions and take strong actions that get great results.
Awesome.
So that's what I do.
If nobody, one of the things about Bill Doerr and Bill, we have known each other 7 years, maybe.
Okay, I'll go with 7. That sounds good.
I will never forget. I was at what I thought was going to be the absolute worst networking event because 3 of us showed up, and it ended up being one of the best networking events I ever went to. So I never ever underestimate a small event. But, I met you, and over the years, you've not only helped with Small Business USA and helped us create who we are today, but you've been such a great partner to so many people and so many different members. But one of your gifts, more than anyone I know, is your ability to connect and network. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So if anybody doesn't know Bill Doerr, I want you to make sure that you know him, connect with him here or on LinkedIn or whatever. But we play this little game with Small Business USA. And you know how we have the Kevin Bacon game, the 5 degrees of separation? Well, it's the 1 degree of separation with Bill Doerr. So if you don't know him personally, I guarantee you know someone who knows him personally. That's just the way it goes.
It's weird like that, but yeah, that does seem to kind of come to pass. That is that's a truism. I think one of the best examples I ever had of that was there's a colleague of mine from Michigan who was working with a gentleman in West Hartford, and I didn't know that. And he called me. He said, "I'm coming into Connecticut. Would you pick me up and we'll go have dinner and all that kind of stuff?" He was with Duct Tape Marketing, and I said, "Sure." So as we're driving down 91, I said, "So who are you meeting with?" And he mentioned the first name. Now, the first name was a definite odd name, And I said, Ari, not Santiago. Oh, my God, how do you know? I said, well, I know this guy named Evan Tabak. Evan has a client and a friend, and so one thing led to another, and I said, give me another one. Give me a hard one this time. And he's like, oh, no. This is just getting freaky, scary. I feel like I'm on some, paranormal states or something. But the point of the matter is that the world is very small when you just start looking at how big it is, and it gets to be pretty close. So when you said Kevin Bacon, I jokingly say I'm trying to get it down to 2 degrees or less, but I think it can. No, I'm definitely not. But I think we can all get it down in numbers with a little bit of thoughtful planning and a little bit of action taken, and actually a lot of what you're doing to make that happen for a lot of people is making that a reality, to be honest with you. And I think that's great.
Bill, it's so funny because in our peer advisory boards, we've actually had to connect people with, easy for me to say, connect Bill with people from North Carolina to finally find somebody that he didn't know. It's pretty exciting. But hey, so how does that happen? And I there's 2 pieces to this, and I only want you to talk about the first piece first, because the second piece is how do you stay memorable, because people know you and remember you. But the first piece is, how do you meet and connect and remember? How do you manage all of these contacts, Bill? Because you know more people than I could ever dream of knowing.
Well, are you talking about like in the moment when you first meet somebody, or?
Oh no, I mean you are so good at networking and meeting.
Okay,
Well,
do us and the audience at home. I've always wanted to do that. I'm sorry, it's just a cheap shot, but I had to take it. What do you mean by that term? Because I think that's, in my experience, that's one of those terms that a lot of people bandy about, but it means different things to different people. Like healthcare could be neurosurgery or it could be a massage therapy. You know, it's an all-encompassing term. So how do you want the audience to understand what you mean by it? And then we'll put our context of answers in that context.
Yeah, you know, I think, Bill, the first thing is people know you. How do so many people know you?
Well, obviously, half the battle is showing up places, doing things, and I'm probably not the best at doing that. Honestly, I mean, there are people who drive themselves nuts to distraction. I've gotten to the point where I probably don't go looking for many events as possible, but when you do go out, wherever you go out, and you run into people you don't know, I find the best thing that I can do, and it's a cheap move on my part because it makes it easier for me. Is I go there with kind of the servant's mentality of who are you, who do you serve, what do you do, and who might I know that would like to know of you. Usually what will happen is you'll get to go along for the ride. So at some point somebody will either reciprocate the favor and say, well, tell me more about you, Bill, and we'll get that discovery process going on. But in many cases, what's going on is that I'm really just saying, how do I see where you fit into my world? And as I bring good quality people in, let's face it, and we're going to be talking about one with Tom Gay, for example, that came about where I introduced Tom to you. You got connected with Tom. Tom's now making things happen with you that wouldn't have otherwise possibly happened or might have taken a lot longer to occur. It's just a matter of put the right pieces of the puzzle. It's kind of like baking a cake. If you put all the materials together and you whip them all up and put them in the oven, put them under heat and pressure, when it comes out, you got a masterpiece. And it's just a matter of assembling the components and putting the temperature into it, infusing your energy and seeing what happens. That's kind of the fun of it, isn't it?
I love that. And I'm going to tell a quick story about you, Bill, because I think for the first year I knew you, I didn't know what you did for a living, but I knew that I needed to connect people to you. I knew that you connected me with a bunch of people and that you were an important part of building my business. And therefore you gained my loyalty. Like I would do anything for you.
And vice versa.
Yeah. And I think it was that service mentality that comes to work. Now I'm going to tell you a story and I want you to tell me what she did wrong. I talked to this, we'll call her a potential client yesterday. Okay. And I had met her 4 months ago at a networking event. She connected with me on LinkedIn, but I'm, the Own Small Business USA, I think there was about 126 people that month who had asked to connect with me. And I am kind of funny like that. I like to go talk to all those people. I'm just funny like that. So I just whittle away and do 5 or 6 a day so I can, whatever it is. And so unfortunately, I didn't get to her right away. And she didn't really stick out in my mind very much. So I didn't seek her out either. I didn't, And, so we had this conversation. What I did remember about her is that she had a product that almost anybody would buy and almost anybody would need. And if she pressed me, I probably would have bought it. I mean, it was just one of those simple little things, right?
Yep.
But, I just got this LinkedIn invite from her and that was it. And I hadn't heard from her. And I don't know that, anyway, but I asked her yesterday, I said, well, how many people have you talked to since that meeting? How many people have gotten back to you? How many people have you built a relationship? Because this networking meeting, I spoke at it. There was probably 25 or 30 people there, right?
Wow. Okay.
Simple, But I said, you had a great pitch. What did you do? How many people do you still keep in touch with? About 4 months ago, no one. Bill, she had a product half the audience needed. She was the sweetest woman you ever wanted to meet. I mean, you just want to meet her and hug her. What did she do wrong? What advice would you give her?
Obviously she didn't stay in touch. I mean, that's that sort of, if you just show up and throw out cards and run like hell, that does not leave. It's like these, you see these terrible floods out in the western part of the country. The land is so dry that water runs right off of it. It doesn't stay. If you want to see rich soil, it's got to be slowly dripped, nurtured. And I'm not talking about marketing campaigns. I'm talking about touch campaigns. We use that term, kits and fill, keep in touch, stay in mind to fall in love, and make people fall in love with you. Kits and fill, right? It sounds like a thing you do at Mashantucket or something. Oh, the Kits and Fill Festival. No, I mean, I kind of actually did it because I thought it sounded like an Indian name, but keeping in touch, staying in mind, respectfully, relevantly, repeatedly, routinely, regularly causes people to ultimately fall in love with you. I mean, unless you pick up the wrong fork at lunch, they're going to go, okay, I've come to see this person as a steady Eddie, steady Annie in the world. They seem to deliver on what they offer. I'm getting to know them. As I get to know them, I'm starting to like them relative to others who do what they say they do. And all things being equal, I have a preferred provider now. And at some point, that factor of trust comes in where not only do I trust you can deliver what you say you can deliver, I've gotten to be comfortable with that. But more importantly, and this is where I think it ties in for networking, somebody says, I believe that if I introduce someone to you, Colleen, or I refer you to someone I know, I'm not going to have to do a damage report, after the fact when they call me up and say, Bill, what the hell were you thinking? Mm-hmm. And I go, what do you mean? And then they tell me that, oh, well, Colleen, blah, 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 blah. Not that you ever would, but whoever the Colleen is, right? And then it's like, dive. Oh, no. And now you're drawing down on all the goodwill in your account. You hope you have enough left in the account to keep the relationship. And then you got to go back to square one and build it. You feel like Sisyphus, pushing it up the hill and then down it comes. So if you get anybody who doesn't have confidence that you're going to deliver the goods, they're going to be really reticent, and rightfully so, not to give you out to too many people because there's just not enough in it for them. I mean, they're not going to co-broke a deal or something in many cases. They're going to say, hey, like, I'll give you an example. Our neighbors needed some help. Like, we had some work being done. And one of the neighbors stops by and he says, hey, I see you got some people up on the roof. What are they doing? I said, well, they're fixing the roof, da-da-da-da. One thing leads to another. That person gets hired by my neighbor. They dropped a ball on my neighbor's house. Now, every time I see the neighbor go by, he kind of does the wave thing, and it's like, how you doing, Bill? It's like, yeah, peel it, baby. I mean, I remember what you did to me, and I'm like, oh, my God. So I'm really loath to infer that this person has the ability to put my reputation up. It's probably more likely to bring it down. So keeping in touch and building that confidence in that relationship strengthens the bond. Once that's cemented, and you don't do anything to destroy that, you can walk that thing wherever you want to, but you got to build it, and it takes time, and it takes repeated experiences that are positive and reinforcing.
I think you said something important too. When I think about this woman who, in no matter how sweet she is and how good her product is, she didn't go in with a service mentality. She had a great pitch. She had a great product, and then her email to me via LinkedIn was all about, I'd love to tell you about my product.
Right.
Well, if she wasn't so nice and I didn't remember her pitch by the time I got to her, I probably would never have, it wouldn't have been somebody on my radar, right? And I think about everybody else at that meeting. What is the right way when you meet somebody at a networking event? What's the right way to keep in touch? Because I think it means so many different things to everybody.
Well, let's keep it real simple, because if you make it complex, it's not going to happen. I mean, I can tell you, I work with people in this area, and this is where low common denominator of activity is really the way you got to go. At a minimum, let's just kind of craft out a very simple strategy. Okay, so you meet somebody, you get permission to come aboard. I like to say, how do I manage to stay in your mind without getting in your face?
Oh, I love that line.
Actually, if you use that, people will chuckle, but they'll get the point. And you go, no, seriously. I mean, I get the feeling that maybe today is not the day that you and I need to be doing business with one another or even referring one another to other people. But at some point, maybe in the future, seems like maybe that's a possibility. We just say that's fair. Now, most people love that because it's kind of a polite way to kind of get out of the moment. You're not being, cornered in the corner and being told you're going to buy me or refer me. And maybe some people are just doing that to get away from you. But some people say, you're right. Timing is everything. I probably shouldn't say this, but can we get a little bit racy?
Go ahead. Bring it on. It's Vlad.
Okay. Some people don't like this one, but I think it's actually very accurate. I sometimes when I'm doing a workshop, I'll say, what's the difference between making love and getting raped?
Oh.
Now think about it. I'm not trying to, that's a bad thing. I wouldn't suggest anybody do the raping thing, but it's usually,
right?
If you separate the action from the motives, it's timing and permission. Mm-hmm. Somebody was out of phase with the other person, their timing wasn't right, or they didn't have permission to take the next step. Somebody was ahead of the other person, and the other person didn't like it, and therefore it didn't feel like they were making love, it felt like they were getting something else.
Right.
So in a relationship building, you've got to make sure that you never have somebody feel like they're getting cornered and compromised. So how do you do that? You give the other person the reins, and you say, I tell you what, I'll do the driving, but you've got the navigation aid. You tell me how you see this going, and let's work this out together. But it's a mutual effort. It's combined. It's collateral. It's agreeable to both parties. So what I'll say to somebody is, I don't know, I get the feeling maybe we could be of some interest to one another. Is that fair? And they'll, yeah, it's a possibility. Sure, it's kind of loosey-goosey. It's open-ended. What the hell, right? And then I'll say, well, here's the problem. If I go away from this meeting and you go away from this meeting and we don't have a way to keep in touch and stay in mind, not in face, it's probably not going to happen at all. Would you agree that's also? Yeah, that's probably true. Can I tell you what I do with other people? And that's where you need to have some kind of a simple strategy where you say, this is what I'll commit to do. If you'll accept it, then we'll do it. And at some point, maybe it'll lead to something else, maybe it won't. But at least we'll have something in place before we leave here today that it's not just go home and go, what do I do with all these cards? So here's what I'll suggest. At a minimum, you want to say, how about I do this? About maybe 6 times a year, every other month, I'll give you a quick phone call. I call these traffic light calls. And what they are is I say, you can tell me 1 of 3 things. You can say, oh, hey, Bill, how you doing? Listen, I don't think this is going to any place. I don't think I'll ever need you, want you, or likely refer or recommend you. It's over.
Does anyone say that?
No, but you have to put it out there. It's one of the options. And the reason I put it out first is because I want them to know that's on the table. It's not like I'm playing. I'm more than happy to say if for some reason you don't think this is going to happen, just kill the deal. It's okay. I'll live, you'll live. I say sometimes I'm giving you the 45 under the table. The safety is off and it's pointed at my privates. Now, if you feel like pulling the trigger, that's your business. If you don't, then maybe we'll do some business. Fair? I'm sorry. Hey, you should catch the live act. I mean, that's really a good show, okay, when we do the workshops. But anyways, so that's the first thing. So if that's acceptable, I'll give you a call every 2 months. And here's what will happen on the call. I'll say, 1 of 3 things. You can tell me it's over. You can tell me, I'm really glad you called, but I'm really not at a point where I've got a need for you or know someone who does. And then I'll say permission to go for another 2 months. And so we kind of make dates, over time, dates turn into marriages, but you got to start someplace, right? So that'll be the first thing. And then the third possibility is, and I put my seatbelt on. You can't see it, but I'm wearing my seatbelt. Because every now and then somebody says, oh my God, I can't believe you called. I was just thinking about you. I've got somebody I need to send you. Oh, we're just talking about you. And I'm like, I get all excited and then bam, I fall, right? So it doesn't happen all the time. But if you do this enough times, at some point, somebody who will have gotten to know, love, and trust you will say, Colleen Ferrari, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm just telling somebody about Small Business USA. This is like freaky how you called. I mean, did you know? Were you like, where's the microphone? I wondered, how did you know I was talking about you? Because keeping in touch means sooner or later, and think about a sine wave, it goes like this, up and down. At some point, everybody will have a high need to know, and many times they'll have low or no need to know. Or there'll be somewhere in between the two extremes. You don't know when they're hitting their high. That's why you've got to say, periodically, I will come into contact with you, and you can tell me one of those 3 things. So in many cases, it's like a bell-shaped curve. Very few people say it's over. Very few people say, oh my God, thank God, good timing. Although that's also a time when it's not for them. They might say, but I know somebody you should be talking to, and you've earned the right to get that. So that leads to more referrals, which fills up the pipeline again. But in the middle is mostly, hey, I'm so glad you called. What's going on? It's going to be down in Guilford in August 18th, I think send me something. You're still going to be doing dialogue. You're still going to be making connections. They're going to share it with somebody else, but that's what you're trying to do. So
but I want to talk about this because members have this problem all the time. And I want to get into this. I just want to ask you a quick question that I just got text to me from a member.
Okay. Stand by for news.
The question is, how long is too long to wait after a networking meeting to reach out to a person?
To reach out to a person? I think candidly, if you can do it at once, just an acknowledgement. This is when you say reach out, I don't know what they mean by that, but if you're reaching out to try and start the sales process, that might be a little bit abrupt. But again, it goes back to what was the understanding between the two of you when you left? If you say, I'll follow up every 2 months or so, I see nothing wrong with this is another piece. Now, this is not easy to do. I mean, it sounds easy, but it's not. You write a handwritten note saying, Colleen, so nice to meet you at the chamber meeting. I loved your talk. Hope to see you soon, Mark. If you do that, that is a very fine, acceptable, distinguishing, differentiating, stand out of the crowd kind of contact. And then in about a month, I would start my bi-monthly drip phone calls.
I've got to tell you, I'm going to do a quick little plug on that note. Have you ever heard of AM cards? AMCRDS? It's brilliant, right? So I can actually meet somebody at a networking event, say, hey, I'm just going to send you a quick link and get your number and make sure I have your contact information right. You send them this text, and they fill it out, do all the work, and it sends them a card that's beautiful. And the man, I mean, awesome. But I think that's a great, great advice. I want to talk about the biggest problem my members have. I hear this all the time. I'm going to tell you a story of a member, works with Fortune 500 companies, so her contracts are really big. But when a contract is over, it's devastating. It's almost starting all over. So we've been working with this person to say, you constantly have to have that flow, that marketing strategy, and that flow of connections coming in. So when you have an opening, it's not, Scott wrote, phew, it's not me. No, not you. I'm not talking about you, Scott Gumbar. But when you have that opening, that you have people that are first in mind, you can call them, there's a waiting list. You don't have to start that whole marketing process all over again. And so it's been very fascinating. This one particular individual called me, panicked. Oh my God, my contract's coming to an end. I said, well, what about these last 5 people we've been talking about over the last year? They're going to need you. It's probably time to reach out and do that sales call. You've been nurturing the relationships, right? No. What do you mean? I mean, we talked about it. We told you. We've been reminding you. Why haven't you nurtured these relationships?
Tunnel vision.
I've been so busy,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think there's this gift. And to you, like you were talking about that bell curve. It's when we used to recruit back in retail, when I first started, you had to recruit people. Well, if there was somebody good that worked at Lane Bryant, every single time I went to go visit that one particular mall, I went to Lane Bryant, shook her hand, asked how she was doing, and guess what? One day they have a bad day. Who are they going to call? Yep. They know, call Colleen. She's got a job for me. But I think it's the same in business, right? But how do you Bill, seriously, how do you do it? You just mentioned a whole bunch of strategies and phone calls and how you reach out and how do you organize that in your brain? Well,
do you want me to talk about a relationship you now have that we help create, or do you want me to just stay sort of theory at the moment?
Well, let's talk theory because I think everybody, but I will tell you, for this one reason is why I built this relationship with people.com.
All right. So here's the thing. Touching is a great thing. It's nurturing, cultivating, whatever you want to call it. It's reminding people. It's getting back in their mind without getting in their face that you exist. And every time, we get more familiar with someone, we get more comfortable with them. The more comfort they are to us, the more likely we are to say, all things being equal, it's not equal, and you become a preferred provider. And then if what you offer becomes relevant to that person, it's a lot easier to either start the conversation or kick off a sales conversation engagement, put them in a pipeline, and maybe develop a business out of it. So at a minimum, I'm going to say the easiest thing you can do is pick up the phone, give somebody a quick touch base call. And by setting up ahead of time that it's okay if you tell me no, it's okay if you tell me, hey, we're just going to say quick phone call. How you doing? What's going on? Hey, listen, anything I can do for you? By the way, that's one of the other things. If they can't do something for you, you pull the Columbo. By the way, I'm going to make you laugh here, okay? I'm so sorry. Before I get off the phone there, ma'am, I got a question for you. Say, is there anything I might be in a position to help you with, ma'am? I mean, if I could do that, I'd be happy. There's somebody I might know you'd like to meet. You always have to be thinking, right, about them. I'm telling you, the live act is you really want to catch the live act. Well, but
that's how you become memorable, right?
But see, that was the thing. Even a contact that doesn't turn into something for you, you still have to remember there has to be something in it for us. So, maybe this isn't your time, but it could be their time. And they might say, actually, I am having a little bit of a challenge with. That's where I get to do the reverse introduction. That's where I go, you know what? I know somebody who needs to know about your capability to do that. How about I introduce you? Now, this is the other thing that's, I think, very important, is an introduction is not a referral. But in the end, it can lead to the same outcome, business. An introduction simply means there's someone you ought to know. It doesn't mean they're hot to trot. It doesn't mean they got their checkbook out. It means that for some reason, maybe it's a strategic alliance, much like you and Tom Gay.
Right.
I just said, I think these are two people who are playing at some level that I know something magical can happen. I don't know what it is. I don't even know when it's going to happen. But I know that the elements are present, that if you put them in together, put them under temperature and pressure, and it's going to metamorphose into something really cool. I don't know what, but it's kind of that's where the magic is, right? So that's the other piece of it. So when you're on these calls, you always do the Columbo move of, by the way, before I get off, is there anything or anyone I may know or be able to do for you that would be of help to you? Because, again, now you're not wearing out your welcome. It's kind of like in Ireland, right? They say never show up with one arm the same as the other. You should always be carrying something under it. So when you show up, you're bringing a gift, right? It's the same thing here. The gift is, who in my network can I give to you in your network that would make both of us look better for doing the introductions?
Bill, I had the funniest conversation with somebody. We've been talking about who are your core, right? You should have this real core of people that you surround yourself. They're going to refer the hell out of you and vice versa, and it goes both ways. Well, I'm going through somebody's core with them and saying, how are you choosing the right people in your network to help you build your business?
Yep.
And this one person says, I think I'm going to take this person right off my list. I said, well, why are you going to take this person off your list? And dead serious, he goes, he's never referred a single person to me. I'm like, well, when was the last time you referred someone to them?
Ooh.
And he never did. And I'm like, the gift begets gift, I guess. But, he's sitting there saying the same thing. And that's not a true relationship. I said, are you going to tell me that there's not one person that you can think of? And he said, no, there's 100 people I could think of to refer. I just forget. And I just don't have time.
Yep.
And therein lies the problem, right? Networking is a relationship. If you really want it to build your business, it's got to go both ways. And I'm just as guilty. And why, there's been times where I'm like, Bill Doerr sends me a ton of referrals. Crap, I need to go through my Rolodex and see who I know because I forget. And that's why I joined refer.com.
Right.
And that's why that's a great tool for me. But I mean, it's hard, right? To keep it in track.
It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. I think that's where systems become part of your friend in making the outcome happen. The outcome is desirable as all get out. The problem is and I'm speaking as a sample of one here, I become my own worst enemy because I'm human, I'm frail, I have all the issues that come with being in a bag of bones here. And I tend to get distracted by shiny objects. So while I have great intentions, I don't know who has but I know I don't have excellent execution on some of my intentions. So I found that if I get systems to reinforce my intentions, it becomes more disciplined. With more discipline becomes more regularity, and with that becomes the opportunities that you might otherwise miss out on.
So I think, we talked a little bit about refer.com. I'm trying to take notes. And so when I look back at the replay, they can't see these notes, on the side.
Right.
So I look back at the replay and all of a sudden Bill is saying something profound. and I'm looking down, looking like I'm no.
Right, like I'm saying something profound. Yeah, okay, sure.
Audience, watch us live. That's a key.
Right, right.
But if one thing I do, one little thing, if I'm on the phone with someone, I always have my email or I have LinkedIn, their profile open so I could take notes on their LinkedIn profile because I want to remember stuff. But if I get off the phone and they tell me, oh, I can't do that on this day, that's, my birthday and my wife has something planned. The very first thing I try to do, because I'm terrible with birthdays, is I go in and schedule an email to be sent out. And I just do it right then and there because that day is going to come and I'm going to be way too busy and I don't want to forget and I don't want to do the Facebook thing. And so I'm going to go and just send them an email and schedule it for the day of their birthday in that morning. So it's personal and thoughtful. It's not because I'm trying to be manipulative. I just don't want to forget. So I need to schedule it. Oh, thank you, Scott Gumbar. We don't celebrate those anymore. Thank you.
It's not me. I love it.
So what other systems? I mean, I want you to talk about refer.com because I know for our members, you guys watching, we just Small Business USA doesn't get any money. I don't take any referrals from any partner that we make a deal with for our members. So I think that's really important to know because for me, it's all about giving our members the right tools and helping them. So we've worked with refer.com and Tom Gay and his group for a limited time to just offer 50% off that program, which is unheard of, but it's just such a good tool for me personally, and it's easy to use. I didn't have to think. It was just very, I looked at some other programs and it's not a CRM. But so can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between a CRM and a relationship management tool? Because that's important, don't you think?
Well, I think they're kind of this. A CRM is like a database that allows you to gather information about individuals and be able to pull that information out in ways that are useful for various purposes you need. Maybe it's connecting, maybe it's marketing to them, maybe it's mailing to them, whatever. But it's very, very detailed information that you can reconstruct in as many myriad ways as you possibly could think of. A customer or a client relationship management system, let's not even use that language, a relationship tool, which is what refer.com is going to necessarily limit what you can do. You can't just call up all the people who attended your workshop in Bristol on the 13th of May. Okay, that's not likely to be how you use it. What it does do is it says, okay, come up with a relationship strategy, which it will default to giving you as a starting point, so you don't have to come up with, you're not looking at a blank canvas or something. It's got a number of touches built into it. Phone calls, emails that are absolutely killer. I mean, what the software does is it goes out, it finds, let's say you're several hundred people on LinkedIn, but it will also find out their areas of interest. And then what it will do is it will say, oh, you should send an email to just touch base with Colleen. And by the way, she has listed interest in equestrian, horseback riding, lessons, kids, school, whatever it is. And it will say, I found this great article in Horse and Rider. Would you like me to attach it to the note? Which, by the way, it also says, Colleen, it's been a little bit of time. Just thinking of you, saw an article, hope you and your daughter enjoy. Bill. It did that for me. Hello. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Oh, that's cool. Okay, now I am saving time. I'm being relevant. I'm not being a pain in the you-know-what. Although if you get the wrong picture, it could be the horses. But nonetheless, I digress. But see, that's what it does. So it says, how do you keep in touch, stay in mind, and help people fall in love with you? And do it in a way that doesn't tax you. And the challenge that I think we all have is we either have no system, or we have no time, or we have no staff, or we don't have enough money. The damn thing's so freaking affordable, it's disgusting. Actually, I think we got to talk about that. But it's something that if you want to build relationships, I think if you're in business, you can't afford not to use. And once you do, then you can get into different levels of what, Small Business USA may be offering to help coach and build the discipline to use it, because it's just a tool like anything. If you have a brilliant car but you never get in it and drive anywhere, you never see anything from the windshield. You got to use the tool. So that's the other piece of it, is building the discipline to use it. But it does make the discipline of keeping in touch, staying in mind, and falling in love a lot easier than if you don't have it available to you.
Bill, let me ask you this. How many people do you keep in touch with on a monthly basis? How many people are on your list?
Oh, God, not as many as you think. And you and I were chatting about this recently. Unlike something that is, okay, let's send an email blast out to our, many thousands of personal friends. Don't have that many, couldn't. The alternative is, if you can't go wide, go deep. So the idea is that you probably have a few people who have gotten to know or are getting to know, like, and trust you, and who are connected to the kinds of people who look like the kind of people that can best understand, value, desire, and afford you. And if you build that bridge, they will open up their networks to you. So you don't have to, this is the beauty of it, stand by for news and declining the call. Sorry about that. But so those people that you're building that relationship with don't need to be that many, because if you think about it, and just to kind of give you a little, let's say you have 10 people. I know you should probably have 15 to 30 in that range, but let's say you just have 10 people. According to the Dunbar number, each of us has a network of influence of about 150 people. That's people who definitely know, like, and trust us. They could be your Aunt Tilly who cans strawberries for the Big E. I mean, they may not have any need for what you do, okay? Oh. But out of that 150, you've got times 10. Help me with the math here. That's how much?
Times 10, 1,500.
1,500 people. Okay. So let's say 10% of them are people who could be in a position to understand, value, desire, and afford what you do. Mm-hmm. That means you've got about 150 people who, if you keep in touch with those 10, you can get the other 150. What would that do to your business? Mm-hmm. Sure. Now, as you get to meet some of those other people, because you'll be processing and getting introductions to people in your world that I don't have in mind yet, but I might like to, those people get added to your 10. And then remember, each of them has a network of 150 people, not all of whom. So now you're into level 2. Now you're playing Kevin Bacon here. By the time you get out to level 3, you've got almost 90 some odd thousand people who are in a position to find you through one or two other people who could be in a position to say, I need what you do. And by the way, I understand you're friends with Colleen, so you're good in my book.
I think what's important to remember too, when you said deep, the relationship should be deep, narrow and deep. These are people that you are nurturing a relationship, and it's going both ways. And sometimes you add, when you keep adding, there's going to be people that you want to add. You're going to build Doerr, and you're going to say, I need him to be part of my top 20. Well, sometimes you're going to look at those top 20 and say, you know what, this relationship really isn't, I have given my best, and this relationship isn't really to me. So sometimes
did you marry everybody you ever dated?
Right, exactly.
Well, there are some who we know did, but that's another story. No, just kidding. But I mean, it's true. But you don't know that until you got to give it a run and then see. Some will, some won't. So what? And if they don't for a good reason, then that's a good reason. But that means take the horse out and make room for another horse in the stables, right? The stall's available.
And I think too many business owners try to overextend. Would you agree?
They do, and the problem is you dilute and pollute yourself when you try to give two. Because remember, you've only got 24 hours in a day, and you've usually got only one mind to play with. So the more you add into that equation, the more each person gets less of you. And eventually, they don't get enough of you to put you over the threshold of awareness, fondness, and no love and trust. And you're just another name out there. Colleen. What was her name? She had that thing with the business thing. I don't know. Yeah. You need
Colleen
to be
Peoria, small business USA.
That's right. That number again, folks, for those of you in Peoria. No, but you've got to get to the point where somebody sees you above the fray. It's like, you hate to be in that book, Where's Waldo, right?
Right.
You don't want to be Waldo. So if you don't want to be Waldo, you better stand out. How do you stand out? You do a little more than the average bear, which is what your competitors are usually doing, throwing a lot of cluttering noise out there and a lot of messaging. They're not building the personal relationships, because ultimately we do business with people we know personally, like, enough relative to the competition and trust to deliver either for us or on our behalf. And if we can do that, we don't have to manage the whole world. We just have to manage the first ring of people who get in a position to be in a place where they can help us or we can help them.
So I love that. And I think it's such great feedback and great advice. And anyone who's listening, our members, you all received an email this morning, our 6 a.m. Tuesday email that you received from Colleen at Small Business US. If you have to go look for it, that told you about this call, there's a link on there that you can go and check out refer.com and get 50% off. You don't have to do anything.
Yep.
We'll put it up on our website too. So you'll see that. We'll post it with this blog, I think. Probably Scott might correct me any second, but it'll be on the website, either on the front page or the expert page, so everybody can access that for a few days. But I think, Bill, how did they get a hold of you if they want to look at this refer.com and
Well, just go to, the easiest thing is just give me a call. I mean, you can go to the websites and stuff, but we're kind of playing with the website. We're modifying it a little bit, and it's, so I'm not going to send you there for the moment, but you can either, I would say go get to Small Business USA. And the one thing I want to add that we didn't talk about as much is when you go through the program, and again, I'm still trying to figure out what the program is that you guys have, because there's the tool, and then there's the coaching, which is the hold your hand and kick your butt through the goalpost to success part of the program.
We have the tool, Bill, and I think that brings up a really good question. So it's
okay.
I think it's, what is it, with 50% off? It's like $25 a month, right?
Yeah. And in fairness, I'm going to tell you, I would say to somebody, if you don't put the other piece with it, it's kind of like buying a car but not getting the gasoline. It's like, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's not going to go anywhere for you. You might want to save the 25, but if you bundle it into a program, and you and I have talked about making this available to the members, getting them into a program where they start to have a community, which is important, of other people going through the program. There's an 8-week program where they get to really understand how to build this whole system out and use the tool. So they start finding their ideal network partners, really developing those relationships and seeing results as a consequence. That's an added package. And I think if you don't put the one and the two together, you'll miss out on the real value of what the tool offers. And because of Small Business USA, I think you and I know that we'll make that something that anybody who's really serious can easily afford.
Well, thank you for doing that, Bill, because I think it's a great tool. And even if you just get started and call Bill, and I think it's a really good tool. I mean, I love it, honestly. So let's talk really quickly. And I'm looking at networking golf, and thank you. What's your handicap? My handicap is speaking today. If anybody's noticed, like looking over my stuff. But members, you guys should know that you have a networking golf membership comes with your membership, and that is so exciting what's going on with that. So I think this was my reminder to tell all of our members, because we don't really have an opportunity to talk to you face to face like this that often. But networking golf is actually a referral group. So we connect you with business complementary businesses on the golf course. So where you might pay like $450 a year to be part of BNI, and you go and you sit down, and Scott's going to kill me for this because he's a big BNI guy, and I love BNI. That instead of going and sitting at the table and meeting everybody and doing those 3 steps to get on the golf course, we just hook you up with people who want to golf and who need to meet you. So you open up you open up your inbox, and there's invitations to golf with people whose industry complements you. And then I know that Tom is going to work on, if you golf with someone through networking golf, if you're a member of refer.com, he's actually going to make it go, those 3 people that you golf with will go right into your refer.com account. So you can easily follow up with them the following week and just say, hey, great time, and let's keep the relationship building. So it's kind of fun how we're all just working together with this, but it's really a very cool tool to kind of jumpstart how you meet people and get to the meeting. But I think it's what happens on that golf course and networking, and it's what you do after with those relationships that is so important to drive business and create more money for you, more traffic.
Yep.
Bill, what's your handicap? We want to tweet it.
Unfortunately, I haven't played enough long enough to be able to have one. So my handicap is that I don't have a handicap. Not that I wouldn't have a handicap, but it'd be so big it wouldn't fit on the screen. So we'll just leave it at that.
I think we need to have B for beginner, because we've had a few members that have said, hey, and we're going to do some clinics and stuff like that. So I think that'll be really, really cool. But hey, Hillary, thanks for joining us. But I think that would be really cool. So thanks, Networking Golf, for reminding us our members have a free membership for your whole, as long as you're a member with us, you're a member with Networking Golf. But
that is really cool, by the way. Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's a happy accident, but it happened. Networking Golf happened because of our members, right? We went outside the borders of Connecticut and had to figure out a way for people to meet. So it turned into
I got to tell you, I have gotten more business on a golf course. I've found business partners on a golf course. I've found long-term relationships that I've, been happily engaged with. Golf does something where you're walking and talking or riding, whatever, but you're getting to really let your hair down. You're getting to be off corporate for a while, and people start that real process of getting to know, like, and trust you. Or as Bruce Clinton likes to say, you let me see how somebody plays golf, and I'll tell you if I want to work with them.
It's just so true, right?
Because a lot of your, do you play games on the course, or do you play it the way it should be? You tell a lot to people too with the way you do that, and they're maybe not even knowing they're picking up on it. But when they get off and they say, "Hey, you want to grab a beer?" They've already probably said, unless you pick up the wrong fork at lunch, we're probably going to figure out how to do something either with or for one another. And that's what's really cool about golf. So the ability to put that into the membership, awesome, just awesome. And tying it in with refer.com, even better.
Yeah, no, it's all, whatever we can do for our members. It's about building your business, right? So
it's about service. I mean, you're the poster child for how do I help you have a better world because you had me in it today. I mean, that's what they're going to put up there on the big neon lights.
That would be a pretty cool epitaph.
It will.
So, hey, last thing I want to really talk about with this networking piece is strategy. Well, and I'm almost going back to that woman I talked about in the beginning, but what we talk about the funnel. Our marketing program is really rich in talking about the funnel. You have, whether it's Small Business USA or Duct Tape or Michael Port or whatever, they talk about you meet someone and you have to have a strategy to follow.
Yep.
I know members walk in and we're like, what's your strategy? They don't got one. It's
right.
Like, I'm doing what I feel. So let's talk about strategy. Help us.
Okay. So I gave you the first easiest, lowest hanging fruit, which is a phone call. And you need to have some kind of a reminder mechanism, which could be, you could put it into a card file, with January through December, and you put their name on a card, and every 2 months you advance them 2 months, and they come up each month, and you call the people in that behind that tab. I mean, that's a very simple way to do it. You can do it with a CRM. You can say, call this person every periodic time, right? The second thing that we talked about are handwritten notes. Now, I think you may want to selectively choose when to do these, but you can do those by design. So you can say, okay, once a quarter, 4 times a year, I'm going to send you a personal note. And all I'm going to write on there is why I like you, what I respect about you, an event or an achievement I noted about you. And if nothing else, you can just say, just thinking of you. I'm just letting you know that you're somebody who's in my world and I'm thinking of you. I don't know about you, but I don't get too many of them. I treasure the ones I do, but that stands out. Again, it's a game of stand out. I mean, we're all outstanding, but not all of us are standing out. So how do you stand out? You do these little things. So phone calls, personal notes. We talked about the emails, and the emails are not emails of promotional nature, but they're really ones of, again, I saw something, I thought of you, and here it is. So you're adding an item of value, and the item of value is a digital link to some article, some blog post, something that will be of interest to that person, and you'll know what is of interest to that person because as you get to know, like, and trust them, you say, so what do you do in your spare time? What do you like to do when you're not working? You'll hear things. I mean, how did I know that you liked knowing about horses? Because I know you told me about, my daughter was just taking a ride. That's how you know that. So you put that into the profile, and then the software takes off and does all the dirty work of going out, finding things, proffering about 10 articles, and you can look at each one and say, yeah, no, that one, no. Oh, if I have somebody with golf as an example, it'll come back and it'll show funny golf shots that happen on tournaments. Bruce Clinton loves that kind of a thing because why? Bruce loves to play golf and he likes to see people, being made an ass of. So he's really happy to get that. And I say, hey, I thought this might be of interest to you. I saw one the other day that had this. It was an early picture of a character who was feeding, of all things, a polar bear, and it says, anybody can shoot a polar bear, but feeding one with their cub wrapped around your knee, that makes you a real badass. Now I'm going to tell you, the people I sent that to immediately got back to me. Why? Because I did something that made them chuckle. Very important. Novelty is important. Make people laugh. We don't get enough of that. But also I said something that had nothing to do with, do you want to buy a marketing program? Do you want me to do a cultivation campaign? It was about, I think you would enjoy this, and therefore that's going to make me happy. Guess what? They all got back to me, and a couple of people have said, hey, I'm really glad you sent that. I've been thinking about you. Let's talk. So I've now got meetings set up for later this week because I sent that out the other day.
Right.
That's what the touching is all about. So those are three things. And then I think you can then start to do what I call meet and greet luncheons. Take 2 other people, not 4, 2 other people to lunch. Because if you start getting into 4s and beyond that, you start having a conversation over here and one over there, and now you're not in the one that's going to make the money, okay? Right. So you bring 2 people together, 2 people who don't know each other but should, and you say, I'd like you to come, we're going to have lunch, and you have a 3-way conversation, one conversation. People get to know, like, and trust one another because of you. They think of you as the ringleader, which you are, and then they say, when you follow up and say, we just want to know, how did it go for you? Would you want to do this again? Yeah, hey, by the way, how do I repay the favor? Because that's where you're going to get your return, is after the meal is over. So if you can plan to do that twice a month, that's another campaign. There's a whole bunch. This is what Refer.com teaches and coaches and trains. Now, the tool is just what they offer. They also offer coaching, as does Small Business USA. But it's the combination of the tool and the coaching and the discipline and the community that makes the magic.
Right.
Fair?
Yeah. I love what Scott had said. I'm on the hero list. So if I see a potential lead for someone I know, I forward it to them. That always goes over well.
I have Scott to thank for these beautiful wireless microphone headset deals. Because, see, he was a leader. He taught me about how to make this kind of stuff happen. So
that's awesome.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Hey, we're running out of time. I just really want to wrap up, Bill. There's so much information that you gave our members today. And, whatever they do, whatever you do, and you're networking your business, I think the one thing that we took away from Bill more than anything, it's really nurturing the relationship and going in as a 2-way relationship and not one.
Bingo.
Thank you so much for that. Bill, tell me how to get a hold of you one more time, and then we'll wrap it up and say our bid our.
Okay. The easiest thing is you can find me in the beautiful Small Business USA directory, or you can use the phone, 860-798-6964. That's 860-798-6964. And we'll have the website redo up fairly shortly. But if you went there now, it'd say you have to log in as a member, and we don't want to do that to people. They get frustrated, and that's not good. So Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure as always, and a great way to start the day.
Thank you. Hey,
pleasure.
So Thursday, I just kind of give everybody a little bit of news, smallbusinessus.com. If you haven't checked this out, please check this out. We are really excited about our community, and we love to connect people like this. So, but you'll also see on smallbusinessus.com, you'll see the link later today for refer.com, so you can take advantage of that discount. You'll also see networking golf and ways to sign up for that. Our members, we're looking for some people to beta test. So if anybody's got golfers that they know, our beta test for our new program and new software will start at the end of the month. So we're super excited about that. This coming Thursday, we have Shannon Boyle and Mary Hopper on. They are going to be talking about, does Diet Coke make you fat? We're just going to do some health and wellness and nutrition for you and your family, and really talk about that, kind of connect with our general winners. But it's on everybody's mind. So let's be healthy easier. That's what I think. Life should be easier, and we want to make it easier.
Amen.
And next Tuesday, Scott Gumbar is our guest at 10 o'clock, and he is one of these topics that we talk about all the time. How do you sell through your website, through social media? When we have a lot of members that have that those really early point of purchase, $25, $30, $50. You can't shake every hand at $25. How do you sell through webinars? How do you sell through campaigns? So that is what Scott will be talking to us about next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So we look forward to seeing you then. As always, here's to your success. Bill, you're my hero. I always
Likewise, kiddo.
From you. I totally appreciate having you in our world. Thank you, Bill.
And vice versa. Thank you.
Everyone have a great week and Happy New Year. Bye-bye.